What's going on, everyone? Ramtide here, and I just want to talk about some Overwatch, some of the updates that they're going to be implementing soon. If you guys don't already know, Season 2 of the competitive play will be way different, but for this one, I just really want to focus on the hero balances that they're going to be implementing. First up is D.va's defense matrix. They're changing this a little bit. What they did have it as was once you deactivated it, it would start to regenerate after 0.5 seconds. Now they're going to be upping that to a 1 second delay. This is a little bit of an impactful change. It will change how you play up a little bit with her, but for the most part it's still going to be the same. I think this was a step in the right direction as well. Next up is Hanzo. These are some small but quite impactful changes. First up is the speed decrease that Hanzo receives while he's aiming. It was 40%, now it's going to be 30%, so he'll be a little more agile while he's aiming. The next change with Hanzo is that they're increasing the maximum projectile speed by 30%. The developers felt that he was not as consistent as he should be, especially for medium range, and they think that this is really going to help with that. Next up are the changes to Mei's ultimate. Now, Mei's a good character, but her ultimate just feels weird and a little off. It just doesn't feel on par with the rest of the characters. So these changes, I think, will be really good. The first part of it is that the projectile will now pierce barriers. So you used to be able to throw her ultimate and it wouldn't go through like Reinhardt's shield. Well, now it will. It'll go through D.va's shield as well. And also they've increased the radius from 8 meters to 10 meters. Next up is a pretty big change when it comes to McCree's ultimate. Now, if you didn't already know this, you could use McCree's ultimate and cancel it, and you would still retain 50% of the ultimate status. Now, this is something I've done several times, because if enemy team gets behind cover, then you can just cancel it, keep 50%, and get back to the 100% in no time at all. And they didn't like this, so they changed it to where it will drain completely now. So you use it, and that's it. There's no need to cancel any longer, otherwise it's just a complete waste. Now, I think that this change really puts him down on the low end when it comes to the ultimates. He was already there anyways, but this really puts him down there on the list. And they're going to have to do something eventually to counteract this, because his ultimate just feels weak. There's plenty of times I get his ultimate and I just don't use it because it doesn't feel like it's worth using ever. So I kind of stay away from it unless I can flank a team and try to get 2 or 3 kills. And even then it's pretty difficult because they have a lot of time usually to get behind cover. Now, I'm not sure what they could do to relieve that other than maybe making it to where he's a little more mobile while using his ultimate. But we'll see what they try to implement later on. Next up are the few changes that they've done to Mercy. Now, these are actually considerable changes as well. First off, they have increased her healing per second by 20%. And then after that, they have changed her ultimate to make it to where her allies are able to maneuver after 2.5 seconds instead of the 3 seconds that it is now. The changes when it comes to her increase in healing per second was due to the developers really wanting to solidify her role as a really strong single target healer. As for her change to her ultimate, this was due to the fact that Mercy has to get into a really bad situation, usually in order to revive her teammates, and this will allow them to get back into the action sooner and really give her some protection. Now, they are also changing something when it comes to Lucio as well. When he uses his Amp It Up in order to boost movement speed, as of right now, it's a 100% increase, and they're changing that and dropping it down to a 70% increase. This change came about because Lucio was being picked in almost every single lineup. Now, this change that they're making, coupled with some of the changes they're making to the other support heroes, I think will really change that to the point that he is not going to be the go-to support player on every single competitive match. Next up are the changes they're doing to Zenyatta. Now, if you didn't already notice, he was pretty much a mandatory pick simply because of his Discord orb. So what the developers are doing with this is changing his Discord orb from making it to where the enemy would take 50% more damage to where now they'll only take 30% more damage. But at the same time, they're taking his primary attack, and I would assume his alternate attack as well, and changing it from 40 damage per round to 46. Next up is the change that they're doing to Roadhog and his chain hook. Essentially what they're doing is making his hook more reliable. Because with this change, what it says is if the hooked target isn't in Roadhog's line of sight when retracting the hook, they will be moved back to the position where they were originally hooked. Essentially what this means is that if you hook someone and they try to go around a wall and it pulls them around the wall anyways, it's not going to put them in a weird position. Because sometimes that would happen. You would hook somebody and it'd pull them in and it'd push them way off to the side and you couldn't see them on your screen. But what this will do is make it more consistent to where if you hook somebody, they're in the middle of your screen, it's pulling them back to the middle where you hooked them. Lastly are the changes to Genji. The reason I left this for last is because it's a major nerf. They're doing a lot to him. First up is his double jump. Now, if you didn't already know, you could double jump, wall climb, and then double jump again. What this change does is they're no longer allowing a double jump to reset when you wall climb. So you will be able to double jump and then wall climb, but you won't be able to double jump after that wall climb. Now, this is something that Blizzard wanted to do because they thought that he was a little too mobile and that it was far too difficult for a team to really pin him down. Next up are the few changes that they're doing to Genji's Swift Strike. First, it will no longer deal damage to Widowmaker's Trap or Junkrat's Trap, and it will no longer bypass Junkrat's Trap either, so he will get stuck if he Swift Strikes and hits the trap. Now for the major change when it comes to his Swift Strike is that it will no longer interrupt melee attacks. The reason they're doing this was because people were able to attack and then melee and then Swift Strike at the same time. They're able to attack, hit the melee and then Swift Strike button, and it would do the melee damage and the Swift Strike damage at the same time. So now you have to physically wait for the melee attack to be carried out before you can do Swift Strike. But he'll still be able to attack quickly and put up a lot of damage really fast, just not quite as effective as he was able to. The most important change when it comes to Genji is probably to his ultimate, which is Dragon Blade, and what they're doing with this is reducing the time from 8 seconds down to 6 seconds. I like this change as I thought his ultimate lasted too long anyways, and what this will also do is make it to where Zenyatta will be an even more important factor when the opposing team has a really good Genji player. Because Zenyatta's ultimate also lasts 6 seconds, so if Genji uses his ultimate, Zenyatta can use his. If the team's grouped up, he can completely protect them all for the entire duration of Genji's ultimate. Anyways, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys have an awesome day. RavenProDesign out.
Oh, let's break it.